We learned in the last video how to do a VLOOKUP. In this video, we want to do a much more flexible function with index and match. Let's first recap on what the VLOOKUP does. The scenario was that you're a courier and need to hand a parcel directly to someone you've never seen. The receptionist needs to reference a common person both of you know and give you directions from there. If Joe is considered sitting in the first seat, the recipient would be on the second seat to his right. The VLOOKUP can only work in this fixed format, that is to look for a common identifier vertically in a column, and from the column of where the common identifier is, tell Excel how many columns away from it can your desired answer be retrieved to its right. This means that VLOOKUP is unable to help you if the recipient is on the left side of the common person instead. If the recipient is always below the common person, a HLOOKUP will be able to help you. A VLOOKUP stands for vertical while HLOOKUP stands for horizontal. So it looks for a common identifier horizontally and from the row of where the common identifier is, tell Excel how many rows away from it can your desired answer be retrieved downwards. But index and match can help you achieve any of these results. They are both separate functions but often work hand in hand. The match function helps you retrieve a row or column number. The index function allows you to input a range where you can find the desired results. To do what HLOOKUP does, match can help you get a column number by finding Joe in this range, and index allows you to indicate column 2 of this particular range. Or do what VLOOKUP cannot do in this scenario where match helps you get the row number and you can obtain row 3 of this range on its left. Let's now use the real example. Your boss wants the sales for a product name, Universe S4. Always imagine the place you want to fill up your answers as your task list. You have the sales number but not the product names, so the task is to obtain the product names for each of the items in the list. What are the keywords in this task? Obtain product name, each of the items in the list. How would you do this manually? We need another data source to find a common identifier and the product name. Based on our keywords, we need to manually look for product code in the list and search inside the location where all product code can be found in the external source, and once found, retrieve the product name. We have identified 3 key phrases and the index and match function has a total of 6 arguments unfortunately. In the if, countif, and sumif function videos previously, the number of key phrases and arguments always matches. But we did mention identifying the key phrases will roughly help you in filling up the arguments, and this is no exception. We can now slot in the key phrases into these arguments. The 6 arguments in the index and match functions are array, row NUM standing for row number, column NUM standing for column number, lookup value, lookup array, and match type. Let's first work on the match function. The first argument is now bold. This is our criteria or what we want to look for, similar to VLOOKUP. What we want to look for is this particular product code in the list. To confirm this argument, we can input a comma and the second argument will be bold. And this is the location you want to search for inside product code column of the external source. Unlike the VLOOKUP, you don't have to add the column you wish to retrieve here. Input another comma and you see the third argument bold. When you are keying the third argument for match, there is a pop-up for you to choose between 3 options. Like the VLOOKUP, the more common option is 0 for exact match, where we only want this exact product code MOBMAC04. Do note that this argument has square brackets, and that means this is optional. If you did not input anything, the default is 1, and that is mostly not what we want. And with a close parenthesis, this match function will give us a row number based on the range we selected. The argument for index function requires us to input the range where we can retrieve the product name. Input a comma and the second argument is bold. The second argument is basically to tell Excel which row number do you wish to retrieve, based on the selection of the first argument. And we can simply slot in our match function where it was used to find the row number. There is an optional third argument for index to input the column number to retrieve. Because we are only going to select one column for our product name to retrieve, we are going to omit this and the default will be to retrieve the first column. Add a close parenthesis for the index function. We definitely can't use these words for our formulas, so we have to translate them into something Excel understands. Let's add some lines to your list. Insert a column and row header and it now looks like an Excel worksheet. Let's start with the match function, so type our formula with equals M. As the function list shows match as the first selection, you can press Tab key to spell it out with an open parenthesis. You see the first argument in bold? Our first key phrase for match was to look for a particular product code in the list. If it can be found inside, the ideal scenario is always to use that cell reference. We can click on cell C4 to reference that product code. Input a comma to move to the second argument, which is now bold. Our second key phrase for match is to search inside product code location in the external source. This information cannot be found in the list, but in an external source of information outside your list. Let's click on External Source worksheet below. Select column C as the location you are able to find your product codes. Press comma to confirm the argument, and the third argument is now bold. The last key phrase is about the pop-up as mentioned earlier. We shall input 0 to represent exact match and find product code MOBMAC04. Press enter to confirm the function, and Excel will do a close parenthesis for you if it's just one function. This gives us a row number based on our selection. Because we are looking for MOBMAC04 inside this whole column, Excel starts from this as row 1, row 2, 3, and so on. MOBMAC04 is in row 8. If we look for MOBMAC04 inside a smaller range instead of the whole column, Excel starts its row from where we selected here, and your result is in row 3. We also mentioned that match helps you retrieve a column or row number. So why does it return a row number now? And how do we get it to return a column number? If you were asked what is the column number of MOBMAC04 inside the single column, what is your answer? The answer is column 1. What if you were asked the column number of MOBNZ003? The answer is still 1. Because we only selected one single column, it is always going to be found in column 1. So if you select a single column, match will always help you retrieve the row number. There is no point in giving you the same column number. What if this range is selected here and you were asked the row number of MOBMAC04? Again, congrats if you answered with 1. No matter what we search inside the single row, it is always going to be found in row 1 because we only selected one single row. Thus, if you select a single row, match will always help you retrieve the column number. What if you select multiple columns and rows and look for MOBMAC04? Excel is now confused and not sure to retrieve the column or row number. The result will be an NA error. So remember to select just a single column to retrieve row number and just a single row to retrieve column number. Let's now add index to the formula so that we can retrieve row 8 of a selected range. Click on cell E4 where your match formula is and click on the formula bar on top of the headers. Click after the equal sign and before the match function. Type IN and it shows you the index function on top. Press Tab key to select index function. Our first key phrase for index is to input the range where we can retrieve the product name. Again, it's in the external source worksheet we can find it in. It will be column A where we can find the product name. Take note that this must be aligned to your match formula. If we select this particular range, our formula would retrieve row 8 of this range, and that's not what we want. We need to ensure the rows in the match formula is aligned with the index first argument. So select the entire column like our match formula and press a comma to go to the second argument. This is to obtain the row number, and the match formula gives us that. We mentioned that there is a third argument for index to fill up the column number. So we basically selected this range in our first argument of index function and say we want row 8 of this range. Now index wants to know which column do we want. But since we only selected a single column, the default is column 1. We can either input a comma and key 1 for column number argument or simply omit it. Notice that the last close parenthesis is in red and it is the same color as the match function's open parenthesis. We have to click at the end and do a close parenthesis for the index function as well and press enter. Your index and match formula can now be copied down to the rest of the list to get all the product names quickly. Our next few videos are going to talk about pivot tables, so make sure you subscribe and not miss any of them.